Well, folks, saying rest in peace to lucky number 7. This hive did not survive the last 2 months since mid-July. Who knows what happened, but they definitely succumbed to the greater and lesser wax moth. It is October 3rd, and I decided to take today to render some wax. So pulled all the dead outs over into the side yard over here. So 5 of them run as 8 frames. So I got 40 deep frames. Each had a medium box on top, so that's another 50. So about 90 frames, plus there's a nuke somewhere. But what I really wanted to show you is this is the first time I've tried the pantyhose technique. So once you scrape all the wax off the frames and everything, I just scrape it into a 5-gallon bucket, and then the tedious process of getting the wax into the pantyhose wasn't too fun. And then all you do, this is a shrimp boiler, so all you do is just get a bucket, any old size works, fill it up with some water about 3/4 of the way, put the pantyhose in there and just let it heat up, and sure enough, it will render the wax down for you. All right, so that's what you want to see. If your ladle or whatever kind of strainer you have is coming out with wax on it, or you can see that yellow slurry, you definitely have rendered some beeswax. So at this point, all I really want to do is use gravity to elevate the pantyhose so it can drain some. And I'm just gonna leave it like that for as long as it takes, maybe an hour or so. Come back, check on it, and just kind of reassess. But come back in. But all you have to do is leave it as is, and it will harden overnight. And I'll show you what that looks like probably tomorrow morning at some point. All right, folks, just wanted to show you one of the last few steps, not the final product, but I just got done with the second leg of the pantyhose, the one that's currently swinging in the background there. I'll show you up close here in a second, but overall it takes maybe 15 to 20 minutes per leg. You don't really want the water to get too hot, like a low boil, a simmer almost, just hot enough to where it'll melt the wax down. And the idea with the pantyhose, rather obvious, is just to kind of keep all the junk together. So believe it or not, here I'll show you, but believe it or not, that nasty looking water will it'll look a lot different in the morning, because as it cools down, the wax will harden, float to the top, and then all you have to do is take the wax out. The bottom side will have a lot of junk, scrape that off, and just repeat the process maybe 3 times total to get very clean wax. So it is 7:11 p.m., just less than 3 hours since I turned the heat off to let the wax render. And as you can see, that's exactly what you want to see. If you can't tell, there's still some steam coming off the water, so the water is definitely still hot, but the wax will solidify, float to the top, and you have a lot of nasty water below. And on the bottom side of the wax here, I'll show you all tomorrow, but it's where all the dirt and the debris gathers. All you do is scrape it off and change out the water for some fresh water, put the wax back in there, boil it, basically liquefy it again, and turn off the heat, let it solidify, repeat the process about 2 to 3 times, and the wax will be nice and clean. It is October 4th, just before noon, and I'm about to start my second phase of cleaning the wax from yesterday. So I just moved the bucket over here. The water sloshed around a little bit, which is why it looks how it looks, but I want it to grab the wax out of here and show you just what we're looking at. So that's the bottom side. That's what I was talking about yesterday, where all the junk will collect, and the top side, obviously, right? So all you have to do with your hive tool, and I can't do this right now because I'm holding the phone with one hand. All you have to do is just scrape this off, discard it, change out the water, and add the wax back to the bucket for a second cleaning. So same thing, low simmer, low boil, let it do its thing, cut the heat, let it solidify again, and just repeat the process until you're satisfied. Quick update on the last batch of wax that I'm rendering. So that is a laundry bag from Walmart, and it costs 50 cents. So very economical. Is actually working pretty darn good. The only feedback I will give everybody is, if you're gonna do this, definitely get a larger pot, because as soon as I lift it up, got some spillage. I mean, that'll all harden. Not exactly a big deal or anything, but that's the only con to this that I can discover so far. It looks like it's doing a good job. The water's the right color. I'm absolutely confident the wax is melting down and rendering, and it'll be the same process as before with the pantyhose, but a lot more durable of a bag than pantyhose. All right, here it is, October 5th in the morning. It's about 9:30 or so. As you can see in the background there, that's the first 2 renditions of the wax using the pantyhose. And surprisingly, for as much wax that was in the laundry bag, that's all I got out of it. So same process, I'll scrape all the junk off the bottom side of this, change out the water for obvious reasons, and then add both pieces of wax to the clean water, bring it back to a boil, liquefy the wax, and just repeat the process. Cut the heat, let it solidify again, and then see how much junk collects on the combined wax renderings here. And it usually only takes like maybe 2 to 3 times before you don't have any more junk. The wax is relatively clean, and then you can use it for whatever you want to use it for. All right, we got the water cleaned out, and I'm just gonna add the 2 wax renderings to the clean water. Should be coming up to a low boil here in a second. If you're wondering, I did not scrape all the crud off of this one due to how thin it is. So let's just get that added to the water, bring it up to a boil, let the wax re-liquefy, and then just repeat the process like I explained earlier. Cut the heat, let it solidify, and then same exact process. You'll just scrape any remaining crud off the bottom until you are satisfied. Pretty simple. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Not too much equipment required, just a pot, shrimp boiler, some propane, and just some time and patience. All right, hey, quick update everybody. The boiler's been going on medium heat for about 10 to 12 minutes, and that's all it took to melt down the wax. And a bit of a pro tip, this hive tool was covered with wax, and because everything is liquefied now, if you just dip it in there, stir it around, and remove it quickly, you can actually clean your hive tool relatively easy. All right, so hey, at this point, I'm just gonna cut the heat, and that's it. Just let it re-solidify. That'll take the better part of a few hours, especially for the water to cool down. I'll check it most likely this afternoon or evening, remove the wax puck, clean out the water, and repeat the process maybe one more time. I did this a season or 2 ago, and I remember after about the 3rd time of cleaning the wax and everything, it looked the best. And just like that, it is all melted down. Hopefully that's the color it comes out to be. Just after 3 o'clock, I ended up turning off the heat around 10 o'clock, so it's been about 5 hours. Let's take a look and see how the wax is looking. Man, that looks pretty darn nice. Let me get out of the sun. I'm casting a shadow, but yeah, if you can't tell, that cleaned up very, very nice. It's pretty, oh, I was gonna say it's pretty solid, but it's not. So it still has quite a few hours left before it completely hardens up. I will give it until about sunset, around 7 to 8 o'clock, check on it again. But most likely I'll remove it tomorrow morning and see how much crud is on the underside and maybe repeat the process one more time. But I don't think I need to clean it any more than one more time, if any, and it should be good to go to get added into the crock pot where I keep my other wax that I've rendered and cleaned. Ooh, check that out. If I can get out of the direct sun, it looks pretty nice. Just about 7 o'clock. So I boiled it down for the second or third cleaning around 10 o'clock this morning. Checked on it around 3 o'clock and it was still pretty soft. So here we are several hours later and it looks like it's hardened up nicely. I'm trying to figure out if, yeah, the water's still pretty hot, so I'm gonna let that sit overnight, check on it tomorrow, and reassess from there. But as you can see, that cleaned up very nice, and the water is noticeably more clean than before, so I may not have to clean it one more time. It might be good. And if it isn't, one more time is not a big deal. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. It is October 6th, just about 12 o'clock. And just checking on the second or third rendition of the wax. So it's definitely hardened up since yesterday. This is the combined pucks. And as you can see, less crud, less junk on the underside than the previous cleaning. So again, same process. I'm going to clean the wax just one more time, scrape all of the remaining crud off, change out the water, same exact process as before, and it should be good to go by then. It should be as clean as it's going to get. And at that point, like I said previously, I'll drop it into my crock pot with some wax that I cleaned last year and just add to my supply. All right, change of plans, folks. In the previous video, I said I was going to clean the wax one more time. So that there is all the crud that I scraped off the underside of the block. And let me see if I can show you as I do this with one hand, but I've decided that I'm not going to clean the wax again because that is probably as good as it's going to get. So at this point, I'm just going to drop this into the crock pot. But yeah, not too bad. Surprisingly, 5 hives, scraping the wax down and everything, it doesn't really generate too much pure wax, but it is an invaluable resource. That's probably maybe about a pound, pound and a half. So into the crock pot, and I'll add it to my other stockpile. All right, here we are over on the front porch. Final step here. This is your standard Walmart Hamilton Beach crock pot. As you saw, turned it on low, and this is the wax block that I just rendered down over the last few days from 5 dead outs. That's my previous wax rendition from a season or two ago. Can't exactly remember, but as you can see, cleans up very nicely. So I'm just gonna break this down so it fits into the crock pot, and there you go. Let it do its thing. Take a few hours, but it will completely melt down and join my supply of clean beeswax to use for recoating frames whenever I need to. Just a quick 3-hour update. So the wax has been in the crock pot now since 12 o'clock. It is now 3 p.m. And all but one little chunk has melted down nicely. So just gonna let it go for as long as it takes, maybe another hour or two. And once it is all completely melted, I'll turn the power off and let it re-solidify. And it is good for pretty much ever until you need to use it. All right, it looks like this is the last video in my wax rendering series. So it is now 4 o'clock, 1 hour since the last video I shot and 4 hours since adding the wax to the crock pot. And as you can see, it is completely liquefied, completely melted down. So at this point, there's really not much else to do but turn the power off or turn the heat off and let the wax reharden. So hopefully you all enjoyed this series. I try to walk everybody through the complete steps of rendering wax. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the comment section. All right, everybody, that does it for me. That was my steps, my process with rendering wax. Hopefully that helps everybody. If y'all try to do this, it is extremely easy, a bit messy, a bit gross. Don't let that deter you, but nonetheless, you can definitely do this if I can do it. So hey, hopefully everybody enjoyed this video, and if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. And somewhat unrelated, but if you are in or around the Jacksonville, North Carolina area and you're looking for local honey to purchase, we have some. Please look us up on Instagram or Facebook. Click on the Book Now button. That'll take you over to our Square website, and from there you can book your appointment. We're available 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. as we try to accommodate most folks' schedules. And if you have any questions, just shoot us a message or a text. You can also look us up on Google Maps. The booking link is listed there as well. All right, thanks again, everybody. Please be sure to subscribe, like us, and follow us on our social media platforms. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section.